Autos equity analyst at RBC Capital Markets. Tom, always great to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. Just remind us, what has been the problem at Stellantis over the past year and more?
Yeah, the main problem has to do with dealer inventories in North America. This is predominantly Jeep and Ram. Basically, they took pricing way high since before the pandemic. And because of that, these inventories have built up so much. Now they're facing a problem of, do you cut pricing or do you cut production? They've been trying to cut production, but the worry is that pricing may have to come down to get these inventories lower.
And why they were just too aggressive? They tried to just juice their profit margins and it turned consumers away?
I mean, that would be a kind of a very pessimistic view of things. But I think what Mr. Tavares, the CEO, wanted to do was rebrand Jeep and Ram as more premium products, which it's a valiant effort and it was successful. But yeah, to your point, did they invest enough in these products to justify the price premium versus the Fords and the GMs of the world? We're maybe finding out that might not be the case.
That's interesting. You have a sector perform on the stock. What would get you keener on the name, Tom?
Yeah, so the new CEO that's supposed to come in H1 25, we would expect that they could potentially reset expectations, perhaps even issuing a 2025 financial guidance well below where consensus is. So then everybody readjusts their numbers. Maybe they cut production and get their dealer inventories to a good place. Once we start seeing evidence that the inventories are back to normal, maybe that comes at the expense of pricing, we could get interested in the name and constructive, but estimates probably need to come down a lot. Expectations need to come in lower.
Can you give us a rough breakdown? How important is North America to Stellantis versus Europe and Asia? Can you give us a ballpark idea, Tom?
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. It's considered a European company, but North America, I think, is about 60% of their EBIT, of their profits. Yeah. Europe is probably only like 30%, and then the rest of the world is a remainder. So North America really drives the story here because, again, Jeep and Ram, these are the most profitable brands that they have.
Tom, I have to ask you something, and it may not be on your radar, but I watch a lot of European crime shows, and the gangsters seem to be going around in U.S. pickup trucks, be it Germany or Belgium. Anyway, it is a serious question, though. Apparently, there is quite a bit of importing of U.S. Trucks in particular into Europe. I think some of it's done on a private basis.
Yeah, it's still very small in Europe, but I do know what you're talking about, though. There's a lot of demand for good reason, right? These are really cool cars.
I guess, yeah. Gangsters, it's a bit of a status symbol. Anyway, and these are TV crooks. Now, I was going to ask, one of your predictions here, or one of your scenarios, is that Stellantis could resort to price cutting. And of course, that would not be good for rivals or suppliers to the auto industry.
Yeah, well, price cutting would probably be good for the suppliers because it means more volumes. But what I do think is price cutting would be bad for the other OEMs, right? A pricing war against Ford, notably, you remember the Bronco that goes up against, exactly what Stellantis, Jeep, maybe GM to some extent. But if production cuts happen, which I think is more likely, that would be negative for the suppliers. We've already seen that happen, right? And so they're more likely to want to cut production before they cut pricing, because once you ring that bell, it's hard to unring pricing. Once you lower the price, it's hard to tick that back up again. But yeah, I think price cutting may be just what is necessary if production cuts aren't enough. That could trickle down and impact some of these other OEMs for sure.
And just remind us about Jeeps. Are they, I assume, are a pretty profitable vehicle to make, like other bigger autos?
Yeah, very much so. Jeep is the profit center for Stellantis, even more than Ram. These are margins that are in the double digits, maybe even mid-teens profit margins to put that in context, Mercedes isn't even anywhere close to that, right? So really profitable vehicles. North American consumers love this segment. But yeah, they took pricing very aggressively. That's also contributed to why they were so profitable. Now, unfortunately, they may have to give some of that back.
Tom, thank you very much for joining us.